Hello everyone, Lisa Cybaniak here from lifelikeyoumeanit.com, coming to you live today to talk about your morning routine. If you are like so many people out there, and including myself from time to time, then you'll be able to relate with this idea of, okay, you wake up, the first thing you start thinking of is all the things you've got to do today. You reach for your phone, you check out what's going on social media, maybe you check your schedule to remind yourself of all the things that you've got going on, and you immediately get yourself into a state, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a bad state, but it's probably a state that you don't necessarily want to keep throughout the day, right? A state of overwhelm, perhaps, of, oh my goodness, I have so much to do. A state of mind that says, oh, there's not enough hours in the day for me to get this done, or oh, I'm going to be rushed, or whatever the case may be. Then you end up hearing about somebody else. Maybe it's a friend of yours that talks about their morning routine, or maybe you see something on social media of somebody talking about how they get up and they have a leisurely cup of tea, and then they do a yoga practice, and followed by a half an hour of meditation, and then they have a lovely bubble bath, and they do this and that. And you're sitting there thinking, how? How in the world does somebody have the time to do all of this stuff? What time are they waking up at? 3 in the morning? So if you start trying to do a morning routine like that, if you've ever found yourself thinking, oh wow, that's so inspiring. I really want to have that kind of, start to the day that's so peaceful and relaxed, and I'm in the right state of mind. And then you try doing all of these different things that you weren't doing before. You find very quickly that not only is it overwhelming, but you start to then judge yourself if you don't end up doing all of those things each day, right? And they start to become a chore. It's things on your tick list that you're trying to get done, and if you don't get them done, you feel bad about yourself. And it's very much the same as setting New Year's resolutions, right? Where people go just too big. It's not that they can't set a New Year's resolution to lose the weight or to become non-judgmental or to, whatever it is, but it's that they expect that the very next day they're going to do all of these things differently and establish an entirely new routine. And that's just not the way that habits work, right? It takes 21 days on average, and the absolute minimum, right? 21 to 66 days in order for you to set a new habit. So what I'd like to suggest is in the mornings, a lot of people I hear a lot of people talking about the whole phone issue, right? That they feel like they are completely attached at the hip with their phone. They need their phone at their bedside because that's working as their alarm clock. And so naturally, the alarm goes off and you're touching your phone already to turn the alarm off. And that's totally fine. There are some really amazing apps that you can get that if you feel like, well, I've already touched my phone to turn my alarm off, it's kismet. I'm meant to be on my phone now. There are lots of different apps that you can get that you could then purposely go to those apps rather than opening up your social media. Apps on things that you're interested in, right? Like I've got a moonology or a moon app that I like to go to and see what the day holds for me in terms of what the moon is doing. I like to think about all of the things that I'm grateful for before I get out of bed. Now, I don't particularly enjoy going through and writing those down in a journal type of format. I used to when this was really new to me. I used to actually have a journal by my bed, and I would sit and I would write down what I remembered of my dreams, and I would write down three or four things that I was grateful for at the start of the day just to get me into that mood. But now that I am so familiar with that and that's become habit, I don't have to go through the process of actually journaling that. But instead, as soon as I open my eyes and that alarm goes off, the first thing that I'm doing is thinking about all the things I'm grateful for today. Not all the things that I have to get done, not how busy my day is, not how much I've got to do this one thing that I've really been putting off for all this time, and darn it, I have to get it done today, and oh no, not that awkward conversation I have to have with so and so. None of that. Instead, I think of all the things that I'm grateful for. And naturally, what ends up happening is I end up thinking about those upcoming things. And so I turn them into something to be grateful for. Like, I'm grateful for having the opportunity to explore having this conversation with so and so, to see what it is that I have to learn and how I can articulate myself in a positive, loving fashion, even though what I have to say could be misconstrued into something that's not very loving or even kind, perhaps, right? Depending on what you have to do that day, right? I'm very grateful for the opportunity to do this task. I've been procrastinating on it a long time, but I'm grateful that today is the day that I'm going to get this done, and it will be behind me, and I won't need to keep looking at that and putting it on the back burner. Things like that, so that I can see the positive side of it before I even get out of bed. And that doesn't take a lot of time. Now, if you've got young ones who you typically wake up to them actually crying, and you obviously have to get up quickly and go and tend to their needs, then that's a different story. But perhaps maybe what you can do is, once they are settled and you're starting your day, the very start of your work day, rather than opening up your emails, for example, can be doing something similar. Even just sitting, taking a couple of breaths, and going through what you're grateful for before you open up that email. From there, once that becomes something that you are comfortable with, then you start to expand it. So when I say comfortable with, that might mean that you do that for a whole month before you even have an inkling of adding anything else to your morning routine. Maybe it's just a couple of days and you're so boosted with your confidence that you're like, yeah, I'm going to add in something else. And so then you do. The adding in something else is, whatever you feel drawn to do. Maybe you're inspired by somebody else, but remember that if you try it and it's really not for you, that's okay, because you're a unique person, right? Your persona is different from mine. And so even this talking about gratitude just might not work for you in the beginning. It might be something else that you want to do, and that is totally fine. And in fact, that is brilliant, because it helps you to gain your confidence when you do find, you experiment with this and you find what works for you. That really builds your confidence on an unconscious level far deeper than what you could ever imagine, and really allows you to put your next foot forward again for the next thing you're going to add. And perhaps maybe 6 months from now or a year from now, you'll look back and go, oh my goodness, remember when I used to start the day like this? And now I do 20 minutes of yoga, followed by 10 minutes of meditation, my beautiful cup of tea. I do all my gratitudes. I pull an oracle card. I journal about my, right? Maybe you have built up this amazing morning routine, but you've done it at your own pace, and you've done it when the timing is right for you, and you've done it by experimenting with what you would like to do to start your day. And for some people, they find that when they go through this process, that it's just as much about the end of their day as it is about their beginning of their day. So some people find that they really love to do the gratitude thing in the morning because it sets them up in that kind of positive mindset. But then they also like to go to bed at the end of the day thinking about the things that they're grateful for, how that awkward conversation ended up panning out, right? How finally doing that thing that they've been procrastinating on for so long finally panned out, right? All of those types of things. And so this could be the same sort of thing. Perhaps you end up finding that you don't actually legitimately have the time in the morning for yoga and meditation and journaling and all of this stuff, but you do at the end of your day. And so what a beautiful way to end your day and set yourself to sleep in such a positive way than honoring what you want and can do in the evening, right? So honor the fact that you are a unique person, that what works for one person isn't going to work for another. And even when you do find something that you do feel that you adore, you'll probably want to add your own tweaks to it. But be kind to yourself and remember that new habits take 21 to 66 days. And if you set yourself up with going from no morning routine, which is really, the rush chaos that most of us have, to trying to do all of these new things, say, two or three or even five different things in the morning that you would like to do, you're probably setting yourself up to not be as successful as you could if you just started with one and you made sure that that one thing was something that didn't take a lot of time, right? That you could do while you were doing other things. So if you did wake up and the kids were screaming and you do have to get going on that, you could also be just thinking about what you're grateful for today rather than having to journal it all out and things like that. And why do we bother to do this? I think it's pretty self-explanatory, right? When you think about the difference in your day when you are able to start the day without your phone, without the chaos of social media, without reminding yourself what your calendar says you're supposed to be doing, and how jam-packed you are today, and how many of those things are things that you're not really interested in or you don't really like to do, and all of that kind of stuff, rather than doing that and starting your day with something that is calm and peaceful and reminding you of all of the great things that you have in your life as well as in that day, it sets your mind into the right mindset so that you can get the most out of your day, business or otherwise. I hope that was helpful. I don't see any comments in now, but I will come back and look at the replay and see if anybody has comments there. Thank you so much, and I hope that helped. Bless.